Hello, welcome all and one. The phrase I cheekily borrowed in slight paraphrase from a swashbuckling novel I read many years ago by Alexandre Dumas. Yes, it's called The Three Musketeers. The phrase they use, one for all and all for one, is famously used by the Three Musketeers, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis. It's a rallying cry that emphasizes the solidarity and camaraderie. So here is my very own rallying cry. It's Tom Kissack, author of Jonathan Tales, returning, as promised in my last video, to deliver an author reading of Tale 5 in Volume 2, entitled The Orange and the Grapefruit. I've just returned from the gym session, so please forgive my listening countenance. Before I get down to the business of the reading, I have a desire to remind readers of how Jonathan's Tales came about. It came about as a compilation of magical bedtime stories told verbally to my 6-year-old son, recorded on my Android phone. They are enhanced written transpositions from the unedited audio version, numbering over 100 recorded stories. The tales, purely a product of my imagination, came to life after my son's bedtime toilet, and he, snuggled in bed, arbitrarily drew from his head a binary subject and allowed me several minutes to ponder a story. Of the 100 or so tales recorded, they are located firmly in the magical realism genre. I chose 10 to publish initially in Volume 1, January 24. A further 11 tales featured in Volume 2, published a few months back, and soon to be released, another exciting brand new tales in Volume 3. They span a broad range of subjects, and in fact, metaphors of my very own long and interesting life. The orange and the grapefruit, which would be the focus of an author reading for the next several videos, has an underlying theme of illustrating the futility of personal conflict and war in general. I make no apology for not adopting the accents of the two main protagonists, one originating in the USA and the other in Italy. One must indulge me in my very British accent and imagine the accents in absence. As in all Jonathan's tales, I commence the narratives with a familiar storytelling opening line. So let us begin. Once upon a time, in modern times, not a long, long time ago, there was a rather homely domestic kitchen within a family home. In the kitchen, standing on a centrally placed dining table, was a large bowl of fruit, consisting of, well, many things: several oranges, a large grapefruit, apples, lemons, bananas, and kiwis. It was, we might initially comment, a quite happy and peaceful fruit bowl. Each and every piece of fruit knew their place, silently acknowledged they were all quite different. And in that difference, all settled down to enjoy one another's company, waiting for the destiny to be fulfilled. Destiny for the humble fruit is clearly set out, we might even say set in stone, a topic we will return to as our narrative progresses. We said a peaceful fruit bowl, but one night everything changed. Change is a natural phenomenon we all must experience at various stages in our lives, and is paradoxically the only true certainty we have in this world. This change, however, unfortunately happened to shatter the tranquility of everyone enjoying right up to the vastly different fruit skins. So, what on earth might possibly herald such a change? But it was a fact that another orange joined the bowl one night, and not just another orange to boot. This orange was a cocky little orange that ended up right on top of the fruit bowl, which for him, if you knew his character, was the worst possible position he could be in, especially in respect to all the others occupying the bowl. As soon as the owners of the house, a mummy, a daddy, and a little girl, went to bed, and all the lights went out, the newcomer orange looked around, thinking to himself, "What a bunch of losers filling up this bowl." This unkind description of the other occupants of the bowl prompted him, in rank self-elevation, to break out into a song. "I'm the king of the castle, and everyone below is a dirty rascal." Much to the annoyance of everyone, he went on and on for about 5 minutes, repeating the same line of words. Suddenly the large grapefruit himself lodged deep down within the bowels of the fruit bowl, right at the bottom, in fact, spoke in a booming, posh accent. However, for the discerning, substitute posh for drawl, an American drawl, in fact. "I've had quite enough of this. King of the castle? What do you mean you're king of the castle? That is the most irritating, absurd song I've ever heard." The orange, about to resume his ditty, stopped, and looking down, peered inside the bowl, instantly spotting the grapefruit below. "I'm the king of the castle because I'm top," shouted the orange, failing to notice several groans and sighs, indicating that his simplistic logic was cutting absolutely no ice with the fruit all around him, who were clearly peeved at his nonsense. "What utter poppycock and pure unadulterated biffle," muttered the grapefruit under his breath. But as was his intention, Ole caught his comment. The grapefruit was inwardly rather incensed at the orange's vacuous logic, managed to put a check on himself, and rejoined haughtily, "The only reason you're top, and we all assume you mean the fruit bowl, is because the human owners in this house are clever." "What? What do you mean they're clever? I'm the king of the castle because I'm top. I must be," the orange pronounced defiantly. "Listen to me, you silly little orange. If I were at the top, I'd squash you, because I'm bigger than you." "Bigger than me?" stuttered the orange, looking down, but his voice had already trailed off, as he had to reluctantly admit there was some truth in the grapefruit's last assertion. "Well, yes, you are bigger than me, but it doesn't really matter." "Why?" asked the grapefruit, intrigued to know what new outrage this silly little fruit would say. "Because I've got more vitamin C than you." "What? What? Vitamin C? Oh dear me, my ridiculously small orange. Perish the pith on our very skins. You call upon such rubbish to annoy us all. Go on, tell us more. What in heaven's name is vitamin C? To you, or indeed to us all here, to set you beyond us as a family of fruits?" The grapefruit's last words were said amidst a chorus of frustrated sighs from all the other fruit, all wanting to go to sleep. The orange, quite without any rhyme or reason, ignored the grapefruit's question, in fact, blanking him out totally, and sticking to his guns, repeated his assertion without any attempt to provide further explanation. "I've got more vitamin C than you," and pausing for a second, added in an unashamedly belligerent tone, daring the grapefruit to challenge him, "It's—" The lemon, who had become quite bored listening to these Quarrelsome exchanges, above all else, like most others in the bowl, desiring to go to sleep. Being a very learned lemon, tried to settle the argument by saying, actually, it is a fact. Oranges have more vitamin C than grapefruits. "Humph," replied the grapefruit dismissively, caring little for the lemon's unwelcome confirmatory intervention, and now in high dudgeon continued within himself, now desperately not wishing to be outdone by what he deemed an insignificant little upstart, added, well, I'm from America in the USA, and I personally come from the wealthiest country in the world, and just for your information, my diminutive little orange, I was grown in Texas. Texas? Texas? Scoffed the orange, almost spitting out the words in a derisive snare. How very uncultured. Then, after a brief moment, the orange added more thoughtfully but archly, Texas? You don't know about me, do you? I'm a blood red orange. I'm even redder than you. The orange, now quite incapable of stopping himself, as he was on a roll, and rather enjoying taunting his adversary, reiterated boastfully, I'm redder than you. You are merely just a grapefruit, and one clearly lacking in my undeniably rich red hues, colours which I might inform you are an unmistakable sign of my superior pedigree. The grapefruit responded immediately. I have, I will say, absolutely no interest that you are redder than me. But incidentally, you boasting about vitamin C, well, I've got more vitamin A than you. Vitamin A? Mocked the orange. What's vitamin A? Well, it helps cell growth, said the grapefruit weakly. Hearing this, a huge smirk crossed the orange's face, a smirk that clearly stung the grapefruit to the quick. It was the last straw. The grapefruit was unable to brook the orange's constant challenges, and was now quite beside himself. He was now quite incapable of stopping himself, blurting out untruthfully, and that's why I'm bigger than you. So there. For the grapefruit, it was now too late for niceties, and in an absurd attempt to get the better of the orange, in fact, losing it completely, the grapefruit scornfully continued in what can only be described as an uncharacteristic childish outburst. Nyeh, 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 nyeh. Ignoring the grapefruit's last silliness, the orange said loftily, excuse me, incidentally, grapefruit, you sadly come from a very uncouth country, America. I, for my part, was grown in Italy, and am very, very proud to be just so. Italy? Italy? Derided the grapefruit. Italy in Europe? Yes, smiled the orange. They have centuries. Centuries! But his next words were briefly interrupted by the lemon, who pointedly yawned loudly, and both the grapefruit and the orange momentarily stopped, stared at the lemon. The orange instantly disregarded this attempted diversion by the lemon and continued, centuries, my dear grapefruit, centuries. Do mark that, centuries of history. You uncultured one from America, weren't even around in the 14th century when the Renaissance began in Italy. What? What's the Renaissance? Said the grapefruit aggressively. The orange, by now immensely enjoying the grapefruit's complete ignorance on European history, replied in a cruel condescension. The Renaissance happened when Europe woke up from the Dark Ages. What? What are the Dark Ages? Shrieked out the grapefruit, his frustration clearly visible as he glared quite malevolently at the orange. Well, it's obvious what the Dark Ages were. It was a time when nothing happened. Everything was closed down. Wars raged across Europe. But my friend, the last word employed in an apotheosis of mock irony, of course you do not know, have absolutely no idea, coming from such an uncultured background. Or do allow me, perhaps in vain, to try to educate you. I shudder at such a painful protest, but I will try. The Renaissance brought a rebirth, and with it science, art, music, literature, and much more. All flourished where I was born, and I must repeat my unlearned grapefruit. It is a fact. Everything started in a wonderful country called Italy. The orange, now in free fall enjoyment at the grapefruit's expense, continued. Italy, yes, yes, Italy. Now, where have I heard that before? Oh, yes, I recall that is my very own birthplace. So, all that said, my dear, dear grapefruit, might we all acknowledge, because it is sadly crystal clear for us all to see, you are of great ignorance, but with my help a little less so. And thus I rest my case. And I will herein pause the reading until part two. So goodbye for now until then.